Good morning, everybody, and thank you for your interest in Showbiz Timecards. My name is Roger Jones, and I'm one of the developers of Showbiz Timecards. Many of you I've known over the years. To those who are new to the program, in fact, that's what we're doing today. Today is an introduction to Showbiz Crew Cards, and I will also talk a lot about non-union specifically. In future webinars, I will talk more about union and other aspects of the program. I will go into certain things that I can go into if I can towards the end of the webinar. But yeah, today we're mostly focusing on people who have not used Showbiz Time Cards before. And of course, for anybody who's overused it, it's also a nice review. So either way, I hope to show you a lot of different functions of the program and get you comfortable with what Showbiz Time Cards is all about. So first of all, one of the things you want to do is check out our website. Showbiz Timecards and all of the Showbiz software is part of the Media Services family. So feel free to come to mediaservices.com. There's our website right there. And first of all, you can check out, we're a payroll service of record for a lot of different shows. Please take a look through the various options you have and even request a free quote. Accounting services is a service that I was privileged to be part of many years ago. They do accounting services for shows. So basically, if you need that, say if you're, for example, you're a producer and you need an accountant, even if you're an accountant and maybe you're looking for assistance, we can help you there as well. Residuals, we have fantastic residuals. Take a look through that section there, and of course, you can request a quote. The tools section, I'll come back to this a little bit because part of this is about what we're talking about today. Healthcare, ACA has become very complicated in the last few years. We're happy to help you with your needs. Incentives, of course, there's incentives as well. I mean, if you want to compare one state to another, what's the best incentives, and even talk to a person, we'll have a person help you out with that. Our store is also related. We'll come back to that. And then there's this answer section, which is really nice because this answer section is very helpful in the fact that if you're not sure of the question that you need an answer to, you can come to this section, go right to the very, very bottom, just type in the question, it'll go right to what you want. So it's indexed on our website. It will find any portion or anything that you're actually looking for. So feel free to go right there if you're not sure exactly which button you're supposed to click on. All right, so first of all, let me go back to store. And again, there's also tools too. There's various things you can take a look at, various things we offer. It's also the software's in there as well, and our support and our webinars. I want to make sure too that you know that not only is this webinar, of course, being live right now, I'm recording it. So if you have to leave a little bit early, no problem. Just go to the recording section to be able to watch what's available. Of course, for webinars, you can click on this button to see all the different options that we have because we do offer quite a few different options on our webinars. And here's the little, by the way, here's that little previous recorded webinars. And by the way, notice this little thing here where you can subscribe. If you subscribe to this service, you can actually find out the many things that we offer every month, including these webinars. So feel free to go ahead and do that now too. When you go to the website, you can click on that. Now, going back to the store, Showbiz Software and Showbiz Software Support. So let me show you Showbiz Software. You can literally go in and download the program that I'm talking about today, which is the Showbiz Crew Cards. We are now version 14. A little bit about the background of 14. It's fairly new. We've had it out since the beginning of the year. It has a lot of new functionality. In fact, one of the major functionalities is the approval process, and there's a really good tutorial, webinar tutorial that I actually did on that, so you can go back and watch that from a previous month. We will be doing it again, of course, in a few months, but yeah, you can go back and watch that webinar that actually talks about that new functionality. Plus, there's other things as well, TIM importing and other things as well. So you might want to watch that if you are interested in what's new about for version 14. But nevertheless, if you have a previous version, you can purchase an upgrade. The software support team will be able to help you with that. There's a lot of information in here about a lot of the functionality and the benefits and the features and stuff like that. So, and even the requirements too. Make sure most people should have no problems using the latest either Mac or PC operating systems. We are now using a newer version. In fact, this is one thing with 14 is we are now using a newer version of FileMaker Pro. we were using an older version of FileMaker Pro before, but is now no longer being supported nor updated by FileMaker itself. So we're using a much newer version, and it's better compatibility with the latest operating systems anyways. So that's one of the major reasons for version 14 is better compatibility, but there's a whole lot of functionality that is in the program. And in fact, if you're interested, email us and we can email you, exactly what's changed as well. So feel free to go ahead and, if you're ready to purchase, you can purchase the bundle. It's cheaper. If you just want to go ahead and just download the free trial, feel free to do that. The program works with a 10-day trial, and it fully works. In fact, we're so confident that you're going to love the program that when you download the trial, this trial fully works and will unlock your trial version. There's no separate versions. There's no demo version per se. The actual version that you are downloading is the full version. The only difference is that it works for 10 days, and then when you purchase it, you'll purchase a code from us and we'll unlock you. So that's the way we work with Showbiz software, is that basically they're fully functional trial versions that can be unlocked when you're ready. So feel free to play with them for now. If you're maybe between shows and you want to learn a little bit more about the program, download them, install them on Mac or PC, and play with them before you actually go and do your new show. All right, so download those. Now, also something important too is our Showbiz software support. We offer fantastic support in multiple ways. Number one, here's the hours of our software support. You have somebody East Coast if you're more preferable to East Coast hours. West Coast is right here. You can email. There's even after hours support for email, and preferably, it's usually a phone number. It's best because that way you can get somebody more immediately. So yeah, we offer that as well, after hours emergency support for these programs. And by the way, too, take a look too that there's video tutorials. You might want to look for those because there's some really great video tutorials that you could perhaps watch after the webinar that actually go down. They're broken down into topics, and you can see here's our webinars as well on the very top. But you can go down and look at the various sections and even go down how do you split, how do you do union and stuff like that, stuff that we go into in future webinar topics. You can go ahead and jump ahead if you like to. So feel free to do that if you like. All right. By the way, there is a section in the go-to webinar that's called questions, and you'll see it on the little pop-up that you have. At any point, if you have a question, please go ahead and type those in. And what I'll do is I'll take breaks, and I'll go ahead and answer those questions for you. All right. So feel free at any time, go ahead and type the question in. I'll read it aloud, and then that way everybody will get the benefit of hearing what you asked. And then, of course, I'll answer the question for you. All right, so Showbiz Crew Cards. Let's switch over to that. Now, first when you get the program, you'll be greeted by this. This is the trial that I was just mentioning to you. It expires after 10 days. Again, this is the code you're going to send to us, and we'll unlock you after you purchase it. Now, if you're with one of the studios, all the major studios have deals with us in some way or another. There should be a person to contact with your studio that will help you with that and make sure you get the right license code and stuff like that. You can also, of course, email our software support team. They can also help you with that as well if you're not sure who that is. But for now, like I said, you're going to go ahead and you're going to download this trial at home and play with this trial. All right. So first of all, you're going to be greeted with a couple of different things. We're going to be starting with the non-union, but I just want to make sure you understand. There's a little window here that's kind of nice. Take a look at the window. Sometimes there's important things it's basically, this is a via the web news information that might be about Showbiz Timecards. It might be about an update. It might be various things. So feel free to take a look in this little window, what we might be saying to you. You can see there's a union section, a non-union. There's something called wider. There's hot costs and approvals. Of course, we'll be talking about those in other webinars, but yes, we have a lot of different functionality in the Showbiz Crew Cards program. So yes, we can do union, we can do non-union. Wide is basically what it is. It's a union function with a little bit wider episode production number. Hot costs are fantastic in the program. They're really very helpful. And there's this new approvals process. Again, you can watch that webinar to understand a little bit more about that. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with non-union. So it's the simplest, it's the easiest, and at least it'll get you a good understanding of how the program works. So first of all, you'll find the way the program is laid out is it's all in one view here. Yeah, there's little modules you go to and click into, but one of the requirements that you gave us many years ago is that you wanted the view, one centralized view, to be able to look at everything. You didn't want to have to click away and move to other spots. You wanted to be able to have this one centralized view. So at first this may seem a little confusing, and that's okay. I'm going to break it down for you. Once you understand the basic principles of how it's laid out and the logical flow of how we made this, you'll totally understand how it works. So first of all, at the very top, yes, there is a menu, and you can flip through the menu. I'll go back into it in a few minutes, but there is some things in the menu to be helpful. But most of the stuff you'll find is going to be right in these little buttons right on top here. So first of all, what is the worksheet? Worksheet is the actual time card information that you're entering, whether you're bringing it off of a piece of paper or you're bringing it electronically from something like Tim. This information is the information about the person, the payee, and calculating out the time card. Okay. Below that is worksheet list. Think of this like books on a bookshelf, right? I want to be able to have a spine on that book. I want to be able to look at some various criteria to be able to more easily go and search for it. Card list is very much the same thing, except it's just more criteria. Instead of forcing you to scroll left and right a lot, what we did is we tried to make this view simple. And for example, here, you're going to be able to see things like your chart of accounts, your COA, right? So your account structure is right in here, whereas, for example, the card list has things like, it'll show the SSN, it'll show things like the payroll company, things like that. Those will all be in there. So again, it forces you to go back and forth. You can choose whatever one is appropriate for you, of course. All right, so going back up to the time card up in the top here, this is where you can actually print a time card. You can actually print a time card, whether you're printing to PDF, which is preferable, because we don't want to have to waste paper if at all possible. You can use that. You can choose the various different type of time cards that you want to use. And we have a whole bunch of them, by the way. You can choose whatever one. I think the main thing with a lot of people is choose the one that's best for you and just go through them. Just so you know, the ones on the bottom are more modern. They're definitely made more for union, but they can be used for union and non-union both. You might want to say, I use a lot of splitting. I like this layout the best. So feel free to, take a look through here and play with it. That's the best way I think you get the layout that you want. In fact, a lot of these layouts are what customers requested over the years. The ones on the top are much more simplistic. They're older ones. We haven't removed them from the program because people have said they wanted certain things, but you're going to find that certain things are missing. So I would suggest, if you want more modern, lots of your chart of accounts is more complex and you need to show more of those things, go to these ones towards the bottom because those are going to be more helpful. In fact, oftentimes these ones on the bottom are reproductions of the ones that are on the top. We just moved them down and added the new functionality that you asked us for. All right. Now going back, you can go right back to worksheet. And there's other things too. We have forms. There's various things in the forms, like you can change various criteria. There's also something that's new we have, which is called accounts administration, where you can literally log in and you can actually go in and you can create passwords. This is something new. This is something new to 14, in fact, which is really nice. You can go in there. You can make more users. You can disable the SBSB password. So those people who are networking together. And by the way, this program, yes, it will network together. Those people who are networking together, you can change passwords, which is really nice. So, and by the way, when I'm referring to networking, that literally means that this program is built on FileMaker Pro. So if you purchase FileMaker 16 or 17, we can actually, and you buy a license for each computer of Showbiz, we can actually network you together, put you together so that you're all talking to each other. One person becomes the host and the other computers become workstations. And what happens is they all talk to the host. So in other words, whatever's being logged in one is now going to the host and saving on the host. It does save a lot of time, and it's enormously helpful if you're doing hot costing or the approval process that I was talking about, because everybody can see what's going on, and it's all one central database. And again, this is all local too. This is all local to your local. One person who becomes the host is usually the payroll person. They start it up and leave it running, and then everybody can connect in. So there's a lot of security involved with this, which is really nice. So it's very helpful to you. But yes, this whole password thing is beautiful, because this whole section now, you can go ahead and make individual passwords for people to be able to use it. Reports, there's a whole lot of reports. I think another one of these things is go ahead and feel free to click into any particular report, and once you look at the report and see if there's something you like, but you don't want all the extra fields, you don't have to necessarily print it. You can say File, and you can say Save Send as Excel, put it to Excel, and just go ahead and manipulate it the way you want. Delete out the columns you don't want, change the headers if you want. There's all kinds of nice little functionality. Again, all these reports look like Excel because that's what they're designed to be. All right. Another thing that's in reports too is this thing called Pay Breakdown, which is also another really great tool. You can go ahead and generate, again, it's just another, play with it yourself. And I usually go over it in a more advanced webinar, but you can go ahead and you can look at it. It generates all kinds of different reports beyond even these reports here. Okay, so that's kind of the basics of the top menu. Above that, actually there's a little bit more. There's a find and a find all. I'll go into that in a moment. There's a little arrow that navigates you between time cards. That allows you here, so remember, if you're in worksheet list, you can pinpoint the time card you want. But yeah, if you're here and you want to just move one time card or move backward one time card, that's what you're doing. In fact, I'll show you. If you look at the worksheet list, watch what's happening. See the little dark mark that's right at the very end there? That's technically the time card that you're in. See how it moved? I went back to. So of course you wouldn't really want to do that here. You would really want to use these little arrows to be able to say, oh, right, forward, back. This is one, and this is all the way at the end. This is all the way at the beginning. So that's what that is. Okay. So let me go down here a little bit just to show you. I'll go into the duplication of the time cards in just a moment. But here is basically the information about the person, their date, their SOCH, the start dates, the union or non-union, the show they're working on, the city, state, et cetera, right? All important information about how they work and the week ending of the time card that you're entering. Below that is the ACA information. You can feel free to use it or leave it blank. And here, there's a really cool thing about Showbiz time cards. If you see a field that you're not going to use, don't feel obligated to fill something out or put a space or blank or anything like that into it. Just leave it alone. You don't need it, skip it, okay? That's the beauty about Showbiz time cards. Just because the field is there, it doesn't mean you have to use it. All right, so down below that, pay type, hourly, weekly, daily, all the major common types of people that you can pay. You choose what type you want. There's also guarantees per day. You can force the guarantees as well. Sometimes guarantees are 5 days, 6 day, or 7 day. There's weekly rates. There's your COA, your chart of accounts. In fact, you can even alter the chart of accounts if you want to. If you click anywhere in here, it'll say, would you like to go to forms? And now you can literally go in here and you can change your chart of account structure. Say, for example, well, I don't use sub. You could change the sub and say, you know what, I want to do set here, and I want to do 2 different free fields, right? I could say FF1 and FF2. And now this is a global, so it changes on every time card. So now I can go ahead and move those out. When I go back to the worksheet itself, now it's a global and it's changed that entire structure. So this is a good idea to do this in the very beginning when you're setting the time card up. Hourly rates, daily rates, there's also box per episode, which I'll go into just a minute. Off to the side, there's notes to print on time card. These are notes that you do want to see. You do want people to see this. So anything you type in here, type in there, is going to show up literally on the time card itself in a particular spot. Okay, so that's something I want my producer to see. I want the person who's approving these time cards to see, or perhaps it's something I want my payroll person at the payroll company to see. Because I know a lot of times, and I remember myself when I was doing payroll years ago, I would often send all the time cards and then maybe an email with explanations of why we were paying somebody something. Well, don't do that. Type it in here. Type it in here because that way people will see it. Down below, these are notes to yourself. These are reminders to yourself. Don't forget to do something. Take care of this. Pay this person a particular way in 2 or 3 weeks, right? Maybe their deal is going to change. Those are things that only you need to know necessarily. Although sometimes that is good for your payroll coordinator to know as well. So think of this as more of a reminder to yourself. This is more of a note to everybody, okay? Notes from online, that's coming from some of our online things like Tim and things like that. Now, down below that, this is where you literally enter your hours, okay? You enter hours. In fact, here, let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and clear the hours out so you know. All right, cleared it out. All right, so let me go ahead and know. Again, we're dealing with non-union people. Everything we have is all entered military time. So, we start with 8. We want to go to lunch. We'll say it's 14. Then we'll say it's 15 because it's an hour lunch. And then 21. Now, you'll see what the program does. It basically does the math for you. Okay, because remember, those of us who've been in payroll for a while, you always used to take 21 minus 8, right, which was 13. And then you would also deduct the lunch if it was there, of course, down to 12. So it's just a very simple, straightforward calculation. But there's also another calculation that's also extremely important. This is an hourly person, so what is their hourly rate based on the overtime or the overtime rules, or it's also known as the federal law, what particular type of overtime is given per state, okay? The regulations that are given by different states, or at least by the federal government, that you have to pay. So I'm going to skip to this Fed 40 first, because Fed 40 is a very common one, okay? What happens here, and I'm going to go ahead, by the way, there's a nice little function here if I want to copy the hours. Maybe the person that I'm dealing with is working the same hours every day. There we go. I went ahead and I put in a 40-hour week, a 60-hour week, because we work 12 hours a day. Now, what would happen on a Fed 40 person, right? You would want to make sure you click the button here. What the program will do is, whether it's here or in the Magic Pay, it'll automatically go ahead and say, oh, right, here's the 40th hour. Now everything after 40 is overtime. That is what you call federal 40 or cumulative Fed 40 overtime. So in other words, after the 40 cumulative hour, they get overtime. So that automatically did it for you. Now, by the way, in the United States, about 40 states are using that, ironically. So it's a majority of the states in the United States. Now, can you pay more? Of course you can. That's entirely up to you. That's negotiable with the person that you are paying, of course. But yes, that is the standard Fed 40, and it does it for you. There's also 8, there's also 10, there's also 12. So for example, I'll do the 8 really quickly, but it's the same kind of concept. This one, though, will not happen until you Magic Pay. See, watch what happens. It's giving the overtime per day, but there's still, if you want to have 40, we can go ahead and click the button here. Because again, it's cumulative. The overtime does add towards the amount. It's still Fed 40, but they're just getting 8 daily. There's also a 10 and a 12. The 10 and 12 are very uncommon. 8 is more common. If you're ever unsure what state is, you can click on this little thing on the bottom here, and it will take you and open up our website. And it will tell you, for example, Nevada is an 840, right? There it is right there, okay? It also tells you some important things like minimum wage, too. So it's also good to know, especially when you're dealing with maybe like your PAs, making sure that you pay them the minimum wage, okay? So always feel free to use this if you're not sure what the state guidelines are for it. Now, let me flip back to California, because California is a little bit different. Because California does something called double time, we actually, instead of doing cumulative 40, we do straight 40. Because we're paying so much better in the state of California than the regular Fed 40. So what they do is it's straight. It's straight time adds to 40. Then after that, you get what's usually considered a 6th day, but really, in all honesty, what it is you just get that, you're getting that 40 straight overtime. Very similar to the Fed 40, except the overtime does not add towards it. So watch this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in some, I'm going to put something unusual, which is also handy, that the program also does. So if I came in here and we said they worked, say, a 2-hour day, oops, sorry, put it in the wrap. Say they worked a 2-hour prep day, right? Now, they've already gone into 42 hours, right? If I pick the state of California, which I did, you can even see the overtime, by the way, over here, calculating. I go ahead and I hit Magic Pay. What the program will do is, see what it did? It automatically realized, well, we're still 40 straight. So it deducted, and I'll do it again, watch this. It deducted the 2 hours out and moved it over. So watch again what happened. Because there we go. See how it moved it down? Because those 2 hours technically, in other words, the person doesn't really go into straight 40 until 2 hours into that day. The program knew to automatically adjust this for you. It's really a handy little feature, especially if you have like a certain people who always do a prep day. It doesn't matter which day this is, of course. It could have been a Monday and maybe they worked on a Saturday. It automatically scans for this and looks for this kind of stuff. See this? Again, this is totally different than your union functionality, okay? And again, there's also a 7th day too. And by the way, the program automatically knows this because there's an automatic function that's turned on, which is auto 6th and 7th. Every time you make a new time card, it automatically does that. So yeah, when you click the button, it's going to automatically flag things like 6th and 7th days. And there we go, it's a 7th day, and it paid the 7th day appropriately, but still clicked through and did the, that straight 40 overtime to correctly give you the overtime after that. Okay, so again, this is the beautiful thing about the non-union is it does, even with the non-union, which seems to a lot of people to be very simplistic, there can be some complications in there, and we have them in the program for you to help you. All right. Another thing about state of California is we have meal penalties. Now, you can pay them in other states, but that's okay. I mean, you can see we have union stuff in there as well, but I would just go ahead and auto, check this button, click on this. We don't have any here, but I'm going to go ahead and let's change the dynamic here a little bit so that we can get it. So 14.1 and 15.1. There we go. So now we have a meal penalty. You can automatically click it if you want to, and it's always whatever their hourly rate is. Whatever the employee's hourly rate, the state of California says that is the meal penalty if you go over 6 hours without paying them, without stopping them. Literally, just so you know, it's literally stopping them from, you have to stop them and, take a break and come back either half an hour or an hour and start back into production. So if you don't do that, then yes, you must actually go ahead and pay that. So here we go. This is the nice thing about Magic Pay. Notice how I'm just going in, I'm changing something and I'm adding it. That's the beauty of the program is you literally go in, you click what you want. If you forget something, add the functionality that you want, go back into Magic Pay, and now your pay lines are added in. Okay, let's go down a little bit further. There's allowances. We have a bunch of allowances that can help you out. You can do a box, and by the way, the box up top allows you to split differently than the box on the bottom. I'll go into that in a minute. But the COA that's down here is an override. If you'll notice, for example, my meal penalty, right? My meal penalty is using the account structure up above. It's using this one up here. Or if I was splitting, it would use the day. So if you want to completely override this and say my box or my car, here's a fillable allowance, mileage, per diems, all that stuff like that. If I want to override it, I can say 999. Maybe it's some kind of like an amort, right? And I'll just go ahead and say 999, just so you get the idea. Whatever I type in here, of course, I do want a daily allowance. This is a daily allowance for the whole entire week, although I'll show you there's a little bit of functionality with that too. So we could say it was 20, right? That's 20 per day. And that it literally looks at every day they work and goes ahead and puts in, there we go. See how it overrides the COA? It's no longer using the COA from above. It's now using the one below it. Now, if you want to make it flat, a flat weekly instead of a daily, you put in what say it was maybe $50 and just Click here, click weekly, and now you don't need to worry about the one above. This is now actually literally a weekly 50, and now it's $50, okay? There's also a do not pay. Where the do not pay can be very handy is, say, for example, the box caps. In fact, we even have a nice little feature here too, which is the tracker, where you can actually track that. But literally, if you just want to go in there and say, you know what, the box has now been paid or anything, I don't want to pay it for this week. So, for example, maybe a good example of a box not paying for a week would be a prep week. Maybe your locations manager doesn't get a box on their prep week and their wrap week. So you can just temporarily turn this off without having to wipe this information out. Hit Magic Pay, and now it suppresses it. This is probably something you're going to want to make sure you put a note to yourself, or you might even want to put a note to the payroll coordinator, say, you know, don't pay box because this is a prep week, or don't pay because it's a wrap week. Those are kind of things that are really nice. So you'll find that, yeah, there's a lot of suppresses in here for that. The per diems are pretty simple. You can even do an offset. I'm just going to put an amount to see how it works. But literally, you could say, you know, they get 15 taxable, non-taxable, and 20 taxable, and that'll just add directly. I'm going to leave the COA alone, but you could override the COA as well. You can even make it a weekly, and you can even say do not pay for a day, or sorry, for the week. Sorry, if like it was a prep week or something. And now, see, literally, now what's done is it's gone ahead and added it in. Well, some people go, well, I like the per diem to wash through. There's this auto function. What it does, and this is where you probably should put in at least the detail account, because usually it's going to some kind of account that's going to offset that account. So, you know, your debits and credits, right? So you can put that account in there, and literally what it'll do is, if you click on that, now see how what it's doing is it literally added the two together and gave you a credit line. So now it's washing through payroll. That is a very handy little feature. All right. So let's see. Down below, there's a section here. You don't have to use it. It's literally information to, if you want to track about the person, like an address, a city, and stuff like that. Again, do not feel obligated to do it. But if you want, go ahead and use this information, because it can be very, very handy in the fact that maybe you might want to track it because there's a report for it. In fact, one of the reports I showed you earlier does actually have an address list. So if you want to use the address list, you can use that function if you fill it out. Again, if somebody else is doing it in the office, maybe the POC is doing it, APOC, then don't bother. But if it's your responsibility in the accounting office to get these addresses, feel free to do this. It's a little extra work, yes, but again, it's a function that we've added that's very helpful to you to be able to use. All right, let me see quickly if there's any questions. No questions. All right, fair enough. So let me go into, now that you kind of know the basic breakdown of the way it works, let me go in and we'll just go ahead and we'll start a whole brand new time card, and we'll go through the process. So we'll say, you know, by the way, there's a couple of options here. There's new time card, blank new time card, there's duplicate card, and there's duplicate info only. So let me show you. New time card obviously is just flat out just new. Nothing, there's nothing in it. It's a blank time card, you're starting fresh. Whereas the other two can be very handy, and in fact, one little tip that can be very helpful to you as well in the duplicates, I'll show you. So for example, you know, Paul Arnold, maybe I'm duplicating him for another week, right? You can do duplicate card, which is almost exactly the same. We do clear a few things out, like if you're doing splitting of an episode and stuff like that, but it's more or less the same exact time card. We even leave some of the pay lines in here as well. You can always magic pay to correct them, but it's the same hours. All that kind of stuff is still in there, okay? But the week ending, you can change that and make a new week ending for it. The other option is duplicate info only, and this is probably going to be used more. This is a new function. Would you like to keep the pay lines in there? You could just say no, because I don't want that. All right, so now see how it clears most of the information out? This is usually preferable. The reason why is it's a much better way to deal with it, okay? So let's go ahead and it's got all the important information about Paul. Week endings change, and we can change that week ending to make a new week ending. In fact, this week we would be dealing with the 16th, so 2/16. So we'll go ahead and change that. And if it isn't in there, see the drop down, it wasn't in there, you go ahead and add it. The year is automatic. If you want to force the year, then type the year in and type the full year. In other words, type in 2019. Okay? This is with any date in the program. We simplified it so we figured you just wanted the month and the day. The year, we figured, would always be the current year. If you don't want the current year, that's when you change it. Okay? Now it's hourly. Now let's get into a little splitting in this one too. I want to show you that. So again, we go ahead and we're going to do, again, we're doing an hourly person here. We'll do a flat in just a moment. So again, you put in the hours as they entered on the time card. Just remember, you're going to convert it to military time. If anybody is unsure about military time, you can email support and we can give you a little PDF that basically has the military, but there's a lot of good places if you use Google that will give you military intents as well. But we're happy to give you, it's a little sheet that you could just print up or you could put next to your computer and use that. All right, so 8, let's say 14.1 because we want to show you that meal penalty again, 15.1 and 21. And again, it's going to follow whatever I've chosen in my overtime schedule. I'm using California State. I'm going to leave it there for now. Again, make it simple, copy, paste, 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 paste. I've got the days in, but you know what? Oh, right, I forgot. There is an adjustment we need to do here. This was 22.5. All right, so now see how the program automatically knows because you've chosen the overtime schedule for the state of California that there's time and a half. Okay, no 6th or 7th day yet because there's only 5 days, no problem. But we do have some meal penalties, so don't forget, we didn't do this time card, but mind you, it would hold if we duplicated it to make sure to check that. And I would suggest if you are dealing with non-union in California, just automatically do it and make sure that you pay the meal penalty on that because it's just much better to pay it and take care of it. Again, you can always preview it if you want to, or auto pay with MPV, which is nice, is in other words, the MPV will automatically pay in the pay lines down here automatically for you. Okay? So click on Magic Pay Job. Takes a few seconds, but there we go. Now it's calculated. See, isn't the beauty? This is the beauty of the program. Whatever I've just done is went in and very quickly went in there and calculated out my straight time, time and a half, double time, and meal penalties. One more thing to give you a little help with when you're duplicating time cards. You could literally go in and you could make a template time card. Literally, instead of calling it Paul Arnold, you could say, maybe like, PA or something like that, template, or template PA. And then what happens is, of course, you're going to want to, clear a lot of these information. You'll duplicate the card, right? For example, I would do it info only. And say no there. And now you've got basically the breakdown of what you want. But this might be helpful, say, for all your PAs. Maybe all your PAs, I just go in and enter the hours, but maybe the splitting I'm doing is for the episodes is the same. Remember, see how I told you that's stuck now, the non-union and the auto MPV is in there. You've got the overtime automatically. If you had any allowances, that would be in there as well. Maybe get a box or something like that for a computer. You can put that in there. But nevertheless, I could then go in and once I duplicate off of this person, right? I would want to duplicate now that it's clear. I would want to duplicate this one forward, right? Because I don't want to change it. But again, you could go ahead and do like I just did, and you could duplicate even off of another person and then change the information about the person, like Soch and stuff like that, okay? That's what's nice about doing templates. It's making it very fast to get things done. And again, this is why Showbiz Time Cards is there for you, to make things faster and more efficient, okay? Now, I promised you splitting, so let's do a little splitting here. This is another thing that people love about the program. So, by the way, too, you can also do something else, which is kind of handy, is, see this Paul Arnold again? We entered the hours, right? What if I wanted to copy all the hours and paste them to another time card? I can do that. So move forward. We'll say this is now the new time card, and we'll just say it's, it's my time card. All right? And there's already hours in there, but watch. If I hit clear, watch what happens. I can hit paste hours. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we go. See, now copied and pasted in because I copied it. Now, here's the cool thing about the copies and paste. When I shut the program down, they don't go away. They're held in a table, kind of off to the side. You don't see it, but they're held forevermore, so to speak. So the nice thing about it is if you want to change it, make a new copy and a new paste, and then you have it for another group. In fact, I'll show you where this is really handy when you're doing multiple time cards, because you don't have to duplicate one at a time. You can duplicate multiple at one time. So let's do a split first, and I'll show you that next. So those of you who are familiar with the program knew that we used to split based on the episode. You used to put dashes, stars, all kinds of other little things. It did get confusing with the various payroll companies, including my own. So what we did is we made something called the splitter. The splitter is a much more efficient way of dealing with things. You can put in is whatever you want. It's the description. It's the reason why. It's not the chart of accounts. It's not the COA. It's literally the reason why you're splitting. Is it episodic split? Sure, no problem. So literally what we can do is we can come in here and go, okay, we'll split each day to a different episode. Okay. We can also use this, and I'll be a magic page so you can see. I'm going to use now. If I don't put one down here, by the way, it automatically uses the default. And if you need more than the 4 that are here, you can switch to the union version, and you can actually use 5 here, and there's 2 more here, so there's a total of 7. There's no reason why you couldn't do a non-union person in the union section, but it does give you the flexibility if you do need all of them, okay? Let me switch back to non-union. There we go. All right, so, yeah, literally put in whatever you want, and I'll just go ahead and say, yeah, we're episode 104 on this day as well. Hit Magic Pay, and now something that would normally take you an enormous amount of time to try to figure it out, boom, there it is. Done. It's a very quick calculation. It figured, see how the first thing, and then with the one day, we had 2 episodes there. Now, could you use this for other things? Absolutely. You could use this for things like holiday, right? Maybe you type in HOL for holiday. So you want to split out a holiday. Maybe the Monday, like Monday that's coming up for a lot of us here in the United States, it's a holiday. So you want to split the costs for a holiday. There we go. Magic Pay again. Oh, I did do a mistake here, so watch it be cancel. Is that I don't have that episode the 103 and 104 in there anymore. See, it's helping me. It's preventing me from making a mistake. So we'll just go ahead and say that it's, and by the way, notice how I'm dragging it down? It's kind of a nice little feature. If you click into it, hold down with the left mouse button, I'm dragging it down. You can drag from up above as well. You can also type it too. But yeah, that's a nice little thing you can drag from field to field in here. This is a really good place to use this draggable because you can drag it down really quickly. All right. So now I want my holiday. Now I can go ahead and Magic Pay. Now it's doing because I have all the different things filled out. So there we go. Now I have my holiday split out from my other episodics. So again, sick days. You can use it for, insurance days. You can use it for whatever reason you need to split the episode off. Or again, not necessarily an episode. It's the reason you want to split the costs for that day out. By the way, you can even split within the day too. I go into this in more advanced. You can watch it. We have a really great video tutorial, but literally all it is you're just telling it you want to split 3 different times in one day. The program will do that too. I'll show you one real quick. Let's just do. We do have at least, we have episode 101. So again, I'm going to drag and drop. Here's 101. Here's 102. Just so you guys get it. We'll just do a split. Now, you can do a percentage split, 50-50%. Automatically splits to 50-50. Now, when you go across, see how it debited from the line above it? I can hit clear if I want to. I can do it by time if I wanted to. Say everybody out when they came back from lunch. So we'll look on Tuesday, 1500. Say I want to do 1500. Then do it by time. Automatically knows to split off everything from that point on. Done. Or you can manually split it too. You can automatically. You can say, you know what, my producer wants to take 1 hour from there and 2 hours from here. You can literally do that too. So it's a nice little feature to use. Again, I'll go into that more in the advanced, and there's a great tutorial for this as well. But yeah, that's some of the functionality you can use as well. Let's see, might be running on time. So we're running a little bit okay. So there's a few more things I want to show you, then I'll answer some questions, and we'll be done for the day. All right, notice how the split even shows up over here too, by the way. All right, so I did tell you that you don't have to duplicate these time cards one at a time. You can go ahead, now that you understand this duplication function, you can go to reports, you can go to mass time card duplication, and you can, now mind you, you're probably going to want to say, I want to find, this is the find function I'm talking about, this week ending, and get it. You can use it by name, you can use it by any criteria you want. You can even do that in the worksheet list too, by the way. Find by anything you want and get it. And again, that's why card list, if you want to find by department, you can use things like that as well. So yeah, use this functionality. I'm going to go right back to reports again, go back to mass time chart duplication. And now I can come in here, now I have the week ending. Notice how it stays. The found set that I'm in right now is going to stay that way until I hit find all. If I find all, they all come back. Again, it doesn't matter how many time cards, whether it's 1 or 10,000 or more, as some of you guys sometimes have. The program will be able to handle a lot of time cards if you need it. There's the one time card, right? So I obviously, no, I didn't want that. I wanted particular find, this week ending, and get. Now I want to duplicate all these time cards except for maybe one. So I can say, select all check boxes, but you know what? Paul Arnold's not coming back. So now I say duplicate all check time cards, and it says, which would you like to do? Exact or info only? I want to do info only, because again, that's the better one. Exact is if they have the same hours every week. So I'm going to do info only. There are locked pay lines. This is a new function. You can say, I want to keep those. I'm going to say, no, I don't want that. So now it's going through the process. And what it's doing now is it's literally going, instead of doing the duplicate info only on each one, it went ahead and did this. But it's going to ask me something new. What's my new week ending for this weekend? I'm going to go ahead and I'll say, let's skip a little forward. We'll say it's the 23rd, right? So we'll say it's 2/23. Again, you don't have to put the year unless you want to force it. You can even change the project. This is handy when you're going to like season 2 or something and you're starting fresh. Go ahead and do that. You can change, your name of your company. Again, this is what companies customers ask for. Sometimes you might be in a different city. You might want to change that as your default. Click OK. And now it's also going to ask you, what would you like the default episode to be? You can leave it blank, or you can say, you know what, now we're doing 102 for everybody. And again, this will be default for everybody you just did. Okay. Changing the splitter, it's also going to give you the option to say, well, right, I want episode 102 as my default. Click yes. And now what it does is it literally goes through and duplicates each one of these time cards. Boom. There you go. Have all the information. Now, I've got all this time cards, so maybe I can go in and fill out one time card. Real quickly, I'll watch 8, 14, 15, 21. Copy that line, paste it down. Do they have any meal penalties they have to worry about? No. So they can be right in here, right? Hit Magic Pay. Oh, forgot something. Splitter. Right. I didn't set that splitter up. That's okay. You can go ahead and fix these things and, move forward. But yeah, the nice thing about a lot of this is you go through, you deal with this time card. You can copy the hours from this time card, move to the next time card. Maybe I want to go back to that one because I didn't really finish it. That's fine. In fact, that's what the tags are for, by the way, the status here. You can status tag these. You can make your own statuses like, I want to go back to it. I want to fix it later. Paste those hours in, right? There's the hours right there. Overtime's in there. Don't have to worry about it. Yeah, Magic Pay. Okay. Oh, splitter names must be unique. See, this is one thing. See, this is what happens. See this here? I'd have to clear those out. So always be careful when you're doing stuff like that. Yeah. Come back to it. Hit Magic Pay. Done. Right? Move the next time card. Maybe it's the same hours again. Again, always take a look at it's the same department or maybe the entire crew worked the same hours, maybe, right? Paste that in. You got it in. Make sure to fix that again because you got that episode 102. Clear that out. Your Magic Pay. Done. See? That's how you could rapidly do a week's worth of payroll very, very quickly by using this, the idea of a template or duplicating off of a week and using that functionality. Okay. I've gone through just about everything. One thing that's important too is don't forget about this here. Is use the tutorial. It'll take you to our tutorial website. always feel free. Again, you can watch this. We'll post it later today. You can rewatch it anytime, or you can go into go to the video tutorial that you may want to look at. Again, you can skip ahead because, there's some things in here about how to deal with unions and stuff like that, DGA, Teamster, stuff like that. You might want to skip ahead if you're doing a union show. So feel free to go ahead and do that. But we'll be going into next month, actually, more advanced things like union. So, all right, let me ask you answer any questions you might have, and then I'll let you go. So, all right, so first question was, what is the difference between selecting non-union and pay MVVs since you have it auto pay? All right. We actually have the ability to allow you to watch. Let's go back to, we give you the ability if you wanted to technically choose a different type. This is rare, mind you, but a couple of customers are asked us to, you want to pay union scale because maybe you're doing a union show. State of California, that's not legal. I guess you have to pay at least their hourly rate, right? If you're dealing with a state that doesn't have a meal penalty rule, which is every other state than California, you can still technically pay, a different type here. You could say, I want to pay IATSE Studio, and then that'll be your default. So that's the difference. But if you're dealing with California, you're definitely going to want to stick with that, unless, of course, their hourly rate is less, but it probably won't be. So that's why you want to use that auto function for California specifically. Now, if you're dealing with another state, maybe you're doing a union and a non-union show both, and you can do that. The program will accommodate doing both union and non-union. You come into here, you can say, you know what, I'm going to pay my, maybe we're in Pennsylvania, right? And I'm going to go ahead and the non-union people are going to get the same meal penalty as the union people. So it's an IATSE Studio one. And when you pay the MPVs, they'll go ahead and get one. I don't have any right now, but here I can change this one. So we can go at 14.1, oops, 1, and 15.1. So now that we have one, see, instead of paying their hourly rate, it's going to pay the IATSE scale. Again, other states don't require you to pay a meal penalty. It doesn't mean you can't. It's negotiable. All right, so that's the difference there. All right, so, okay, same question again. Gotcha. All right, could you please go over the box tracker? Sure, no problem. So what the box tracker does is it allows you to go ahead and you can go ahead and say whatever your theoretical max is. So you could say it's $1,000, right? Now, there's this little update function, and it doesn't automatically do it yet. You have to manually do it. But every week, you go ahead and hit, Magic Pay. Of course, I need to have a box in here first to let that do that. So let's go ahead and let's enter a box, right? And I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to bring that box way up there. I'm going to bring it up to 900, just so you can see it quicker. All right, so now I've gone in there, I've done that. You hit Magic Pay. That line now, you have to manually, but it's a nice feature. You go ahead and say, okay, I want to go ahead and manually update here. Oh, I went over, way over. I see, I know why, because 900 a day. My mistake. You want, let's go ahead and do, see, 100 is fine. That'll work. Okay, so 100. But see, you kind of did it already, which was nice. See, now it's already done the update and done the date. So if you want to clear it out real quick. So you can see technically it already worked. But yeah, I'll go ahead here. Now we've got 100 per day. So boom. Now we've got somebody who's getting paid 500 right now. So you want to come in here and hit update. And what it'll do is it'll carry over with the total for them for the, oh, no, sorry, that was me a penalty box. My box to get in there, so box. Oh, because another thing I did, do not pay. All right. So I just take a look at these little things when you're doing a demo. Of course, you miss them, but all right. So there we go. Now I got a box. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say update. There you go. See, now it's $500. Okay. So now what you're going to do now is you're going to duplicate this time card, and that will carry forward. So you would say, I want to duplicate, let's just say duplicate card, just so we have it all in there. And then, see, now I need to have a new week ending for this person, with a new week ending. And then you'd hit Magic Pay. Again, another 500. But see, now watch what happens now. If I come in here now, I want to update it. Now I've hit my max, which is $1,000. And now what it does is not only does it see how the timestamp is in there, it's also going to go ahead and automatically lock it for me. See that? See how it auto locks it? So now every week you pay after that is not going to pay anymore. Now the only caveat, and there's also one for card too here, is that it's you have to click this manually. I do have a request into our developer so that if it'll give you an option, it'll be a little pop-up. Would you like to automatically do this? Update that? And yeah, you could say yes or no. It is very handy to do it because if you forget to on a previous week, you'll have to go in here and you can manually type in the amount in here, by the way. So say for that first time I forgot to do it, you could go ahead and add the 500 automatically in so that the next time it does it and it updates, it'll be fine. But yeah, that's basically what it is. It's just a way of tracking it so that when it's done and when you hit the maximum top, it will automatically lock and pay no more. Okay, so that's a nice little feature to help you from overpaying. All right. Can you link the save times from one time card entered by multiple people? Well, I think what you're referring to is actually the copy and paste here. Link multiple saves and time cards for multiple people. Well, I think I know what you're asking, which is, I mean, essentially what you're doing is you're copying and pasting the hours from that. But when you say I just kind of sure what you mean by linking them. But yeah, it automatically, the nice thing about the program is it automatically saves the times anyways. So you're fine on that. Maybe you could, if we're not answering that question exactly, you can always call our support. We can make sure we get that answered for you. But yeah, no, I think what you're asking is can you copy the amount of hours and paste it into multiple people? I showed you that one. That actually worked quite nicely. So maybe you asked that before I did that. All right. Looks like everybody's questions have been answered. All right. And so we got about 2 or 3 minutes. Oh, actually one more. Actually one more came in. Somebody says that not. Oh, maybe the person just emailed about they're the indie producer. You're wrapping up on one. Oh, you're talking about SAG. All right. This actually you're actually the nice thing about this is you're asking about the SAG program, which I do in another webinar. By the way, there is a SAG version of this program specifically for SAG. If you go to our website and what you're asking about, some of these things you're talking about, yes, it does do the calculations. Screen Actors Guild even uses the program to audit you, by the way. It's SAG and after Exhibit A. But if you go to our store, you can go to SAG After, and you can download this program. It's a separate program. The reason why is because the actors are paid a little bit differently than the regular crew people. And again, you're dealing with a guild. I do go into this in a separate webinar, but yes, there actually is a separate program. There's also separate tutorials as well if you want to watch those as well. I won't probably go into this probably for 2 more months. But yeah, you can use the SAG program specifically to calculate SAG people. So the questions you've been asking in here about doing for SAG, yes, you would want to use the SAG program, and that's where you'd want to go and use that program because that'll help you calculate, Schedule A, 3-day player, Schedule B, C, F, H through K, stuff like that. So that's a nice little feature that it is a separate program for that. Again, because it's necessary, because it is dealing with specifically, your talent, your actors, and in SAG. So yeah, that can accommodate what you need. All right. Well, no other questions. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Roger, and there's an email in there to if there's any questions, you can go ahead and email that in. You can contact our support at any time. Again, if you go right to here. Feel free to contact the numbers here, and they will be able to help you with any questions you might have about the software. And again, feel free to attend next month or watch the tutorials or watch past webinars, because remember, the past webinars are also posted too. If you click on the webinars here, or the recordings, is both, by the way. You can actually go and watch today's recording as well as previous webinars from the past. So feel free to go through these here. And it even talks about things like remember I mentioned Tim and some of the other things, Shot Logic and other things. Feel free to watch some of these other ones who talk about some of our other software as well. All right. Well, thank you very much, and have a great weekend. For those of you in the United States, have a nice President's Day weekend, and we'll see you again next month. Thank you.